What's up, short attention span history nerds? I'm Mike Perry, and you're watching 10 Minute History. Unless you've been living under a rock on a deserted island on the moon, you've heard of Harry Potter. And whether you're a hardcore fan or a muggle who's only seen the movies, there's no denying that Harry Potter is a cultural phenomenon. While you may know facts like that the first novel, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, was released on June 26, 1997, or that it's the best-selling series in the world as of 2018, but you probably don't know and haven't heard of the following surprising historical facts about author J.K. Rowling's magical series, from how she named her characters to the technology that brought the characters to life. This is the amazing history of Harry Potter. Now let's start off with an easy one. Number one, the author and Harry Potter both share the same birthday. They were both born on July 31st, only in different years. We can all agree that Rowling gives whimsical names to all her characters and places. On Wizarding World, the ultimate knowledge source for all things Harry Potter, she revealed that in the early creative process, she came up with the names of 40 Hogwarts students in Harry's class, every member of the Golden Trio Circle, and that each character's name has something to do with their personality or character trait. Harry is the Middle English version of the word Henry, a popular name among English teens throughout centuries. Harry was the leader, the one to which everyone would look up to as the hero. For Ronald, Rowling looked to the Old North Ragnvaldr. I'm sure I butchered that name, but look at how this is spelled. That's a lot of consonants. It's a title for a ruler's advisor. Ron was, in a sense, Harry's voice of reason. Now, in contrast to the two male characters, Hermione's name was taken from Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, and it has less to do with her own traits than it does with her muggle parents' desire to pick a clever moniker. Now, Rowling had the idea for the four houses of Hogwarts swirling in her mind for some time before penning them. It was on a plane trip that she first wrote down the words Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff on the back of an airplane vomit bag. She revealed this tidbit on Twitter in 2017, and she still has that vomit bag. Also, according to Wizarding World, Harry Potter shares the same name with his great-grandfather, and although the ancestor who lived in the 19th century and early 20th century doesn't appear in the books, his timeline would intersect with the Fantastic Beast era. So who knows? Maybe he'll be featured in a future film or a book. The plant names in Harry's world, like mugwort and toadflax, sound imaginary, but they're not. They're actual flora that exist in the muggle world. Mugwort used to be used as a flavoring for beer before hops took its place, and toadflax has been used for its medicinal properties for centuries. As the author explained in a 2003 interview with CBS 60 Minutes, the plants in the series come from a compendium called The Complete Herbal by English botanist and herbalist Nicholas Culpeper. Nicholas Flamel, the sorcerer and alchemist from Sorcerer's Stone, shares the same name and attributes as a real-life French businessman and scribe born in the 14th century. The real Nicholas Flamel developed a reputation as an alchemist, and it was believed that he discovered the Philosopher's Stone and thereby achieved immortality. Scotland's capital is teeming with Gothic architecture, cobblestone streets, and narrow passageways. Rowling was enchanted by the city's locales, from Greyfriars Kirkyard, where the real Tom Riddle is buried, to George Heriot's School, a private institution whose turreted building inspired Hogwarts. You can even visit the cafe where Harry's story began, namely the Elephant House, the so-called birthplace of Harry Potter, and Spoon, a restaurant that Rowling frequented in its former incarnation as Nicholson's Cafe. Defense Against the Dark Arts professor Dolores Umbridge has been deemed one of fiction's creepiest villains by none other than famed horror writer Stephen King. The gently smiling Dolores Umbridge with her girlish voice, toad-like face, and clutching stubby fingers, is the greatest make-believe villain to come along since Hannibal Lecter, King wrote in his 2009 review of Order of the Phoenix for Entertainment Weekly. It's no secret that Rowling, who studied classical language and mythology at Exeter University, is familiar with Latin. Not only do the many spells come from that ancient language, but so does the Hogwarts motto, Draco Dormiens Nunquam Titilandus, which translates to, never tickle a sleeping dragon. Rowling said in a 2005 BBC interview, "You know the way that most school slogans are things like persevere, nobility, clarity, and fidelity or something? It's just amusing to me to give an entirely practical piece of advice for the Hogwarts school motto." Magical creatures aside, there were a slew of ordinary animals in the Harry Potter movies, and they had their own production team. 4 different owls played Harry's bird Hedwig, and over a dozen rats portrayed Ron's pet rodent, Scabbers. Each animal had a team of on-site personal assistants that oversaw their feeding schedule, allotted times for rest, and even a vet that would determine when a particular animal was getting agitated or stressed, and then it was time to swap out for its double, or its triple, or its quadruple. You get the point. Selling more than 500 million copies worldwide, the Harry Potter books have been translated into 80 different languages. Recently, Scots, a language spoken as a first language by only 90,000 people. Prior to a creative dispute with Rowling, Steven Spielberg was slated to direct Sorcerer's Stone, but he wanted Haley Joel Osment of Sixth Sense to play the chosen one. I see dead theater cells. However, it was Daniel Radcliffe that won out. In fact, Daniel Radcliffe beat out more than 300 child actors for the part of a lifetime. Radcliffe owes Rawlings his entire career. This one is for the real fans, the ones that have read the books and not just watched the movies. One of the most notable differences between the books and the movies is the mischievous Hogwarts ghost Peeves' absence from the films. The late British comedian and actor Rick Mayall was actually cast as the poltergeist in Sorcerer's Stone, but director Chris Columbus cut Mayall's scenes after only a few weeks of shooting because he didn't like the look of the character on screen. Did it bother Mayall that his scenes were cut? You decide. During an interview for When Evil Calls in 2011, Mayall said, "It was 3 weeks later, so I was in the film for around 3 weeks, and then I got cut. But I still got the money, so that was the most exciting film that I've never been in because I got the noodle and I wasn't in it. Fantastic." Design firm Mina Lima, which created the newspapers for many of the films, hid a secret character in the magical periodicals. Known as the Ginger Witch, this elusive lady is a criminal whose escapades span decades. First appearing in Prisoner of Azkaban, you'll also spot her in the Fantastic Beasts movies. When Rowling was in her 20s, she struggled with deep depression. During an interview with Oprah Winfrey, she shared that the Dementors are based on the hollowed out feeling of depression. "I know sadness," she said. "Sadness is to cry and feel, but it's also a cold absence of feeling, and that hollowed out feeling. That's what Dementors are." Characters' deaths are one of the narrative elements that Rowling plotted in advance. Originally, she planned for Ron's dad, Arthur Weasley, to meet a grim fate in Order of the Phoenix, but she changed her mind at the last moment. I think part of the reason is that there are very few good fathers in the book, she said in an interview with Today in 2007. In fact, you could make a very good case for Arthur Weasley being the only good father in the whole series. In order to keep Deathly Hallows a secret, early proofs and prints of Deathly Hallow were given humorous red herring titles, such as The Edinburgh Popmaker and The Life and Times of Clara Rose Lovett, an epic novel covering many generations. One of the Harry Potter costume designers, Janie Tamine, previously told Insider that actress Evanna Lynch helped craft a lot of the character's jewelry. In particular, Lynch made Luna's famous beaded, reddish-shaped earrings herself. It was an excellent collaboration. To mine recalled, she was a very clever and talented kid to work with. Since they included silk ties and wool sweaters, the Hogwarts uniforms were some of the most expensive costumes in the series to make. I never wanted to use anything but the most perfect material, she previously told Insider. The ties were all silk. We used wool for the sweaters. We used a very expensive material for the gowns, but Tamime said these looks were worth investing in since Harry Potter's filming was going to take months and cheap material would have looked terrible after 1 month. Now here's some honorable mentions. From Quidditch sequences to the flying books in Hogwarts Library, it's obvious that green screen technology played an essential part in bringing the magic of the Harry Potter universe to the big screen. But not every special effect was added post-production. Animatronics were used for creatures such as Professor Sprout's baby mandrakes and the Monster Book of Monsters. There was also an animatronic Buckbeak used for close-up shots for the Hippogriff. The brooms were crafted from airplane-grade titanium. People think of them as props the kids were just carrying around, but in reality, they had to sit on them. They had to be mounted onto motion control bases for green screen shots and special effects shots, so they had to be very thin and incredibly durable. Although some of the food that appears in Harry Potter movies were fake props, there were edible items in the mix. Items like mashed potatoes, chocolates, and other food items that the kids were willing to eat. If you want to eat like a Hogwarts student, you can try some of the magical offerings at Universal Studios' Wizarding World of Harry Potter, from butterbeer to bangers and mash. So that's the wonderful world of Harry Potter history that I had to dig rather deep to find. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned a few aspects of what it took to become one of the largest movie franchises behind Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in all fairness, it's just pocket change behind Star Wars. The two are virtually neck and neck, and Lucas had 30 years head start on Rowling's. If you like short history lessons with sarcasm and humor, consider subscribing to 10 Minute History. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also check out my other videos. Until next time.